So I put this together because these days looking around Portland can be like, now you see me, now you don't. I don't know how many people noticed this, but these two trees were chopped down recently at Fort Allen Park, and it's not a huge change in the grand scheme, but I like the way that they interrupted the horizon, but maybe that's why they got axed. This is Len's Market. I don't know how many people remember this, but I remember getting run out of Len's for going through what he called his private stash of porno magazines. It's a little anecdote there. Century Tire was a good place to go get used tires for a long time. I had a couple junker cars that when the tires got completely bald, I could go score a used set for like $20 a piece, even after other mechanics had told me that was against the law. So I was sad to see them go. It's a Chipotle now. Not every at-risk building gets torn down. This one got saved. It's a gas station now, but you have to admit it's a pretty nice-looking gas station, and much better than it looked for years as it was crumbling there on Broadway in South Portland. This is down at the end of Thompson's Point. It's still there because I think it was had some historical significance as an old rail warehouse. I don't know the whole story, but it's been repurposed. The whole skeleton now is a hip place to hang out, and that's pretty cool that it got saved. I shot this one of 3Gs a few days after they moved, and I've been lucky to be able to capture a lot of these places kind of right before they got torn down. And this was probably one of the quickest moving projects I've seen in recent history. It was the huge move-in ready condo complex, it seems like a few months after this. I never went into Popeyes, but one summer I worked with kind of a menacing looking ex-fisherman who always wanted me to go get a beer with him there. And one day he showed up with a really gross, swollen, bloody eye, and I decided it probably wasn't my scene, so I stayed away from it. This is a house that was at the corner of Warren Ave and Riverside Street. It's a Hammond Lumber now, but when I saw that it was marked for demolition, I got a few photos of it, and it probably stood watch over that corner where you would look down and now is Home Depot, and 100 years or more before that. 160 Newberry Street is where I lived from 96 to 98. Our landlord was Richard Clark. He had a big beard. He always showed up to collect rent in a Dickies uniform monogram shirt and barefoot, which I thought was kind of a juxtaposition. Right across the street from that was this place, which got torn down recently. And now it's the site of, I think, a 4 or 5 story condo complex that's right on Franklin Arterial and Newberry Street. So who doesn't have a soft spot for Paul's? I hadn't shopped there in years, so it's hard to say, that I'm sad that it got torn down, but it was my local market for a while, and I'll never forget the smell. It had a very distinct smell that was something like greasy linoleum and like slightly rotting meat. So then, another iconic Congress Street business that has gotten bleached is Joe's Smoke Shop. To me, Joe's is still the place where we'd get 40s and look through the latest High Times magazine. And, I just can't think of going in there now. It's not a steel beam, LED lit cooler type of place to me anymore, so, new development is just kind of boring and can be very homogenized, and it's maybe holding on to the past, but it's not a bad thing to want to hang out of the true character of Portland. But not all change is bad, especially when it comes to infrastructure. The Veterans Bridge project was a good project. I really love the old Veterans Bridge, but the new one is kind of cool too, even with those weird dune grass sculptures along the side. El Rayo, I'll always remember this as Harborview. I don't know how many people ate at Harborview gas and pizza, but it was a staple of my diet for a long time. And El Rayo is hip enough to live on, but I just can't the size of the project that came after, that's still going on now, that's what really kind of blows my mind. This just shows how a lot of the developers are thinking a lot bigger than, you know, what I would think of as Portland, which was a small town, you know, small independent businesses, and this new project that's going on now really blew my mind. And then we can't talk about big projects without talking about Rufus Deering, 162 years in business, closed their doors recently because, you know, what I've heard is the land becoming more valuable than the business. And the morning after they closed, I hopped the fence close to behind Baxter Academy with my camera, and it dawned on me, you know, I'm 40 years old, I'm almost ripping my jeans, hopping over this fence behind a dumpster. What am I doing? But, you know, trespassing. But you have to kind of I have to do this to build this archive and document the changing cityscape. And as long as there's historic places that are in peril, I kind of just feel drawn to them and to photographing and documenting them. And the place that I'm gonna end with here is the Portland Company, which you know, is still kind of in a heated battle, I guess, over what's gonna happen there. And parts of it are still standing now, but I have a feeling they really won't be for too much longer. So that's my presentation, and thank you guys very much.